Hi, and welcome to the NBA Economy Show. This is Fritz, enjoyed by my friend Knickanator from
Hey,
Twitter
how you doing?
fame. Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, man. Thank you for
Yeah, we've
inviting
been.
me on.
Oh, no problem. Try to set up this for a while. Ever since I set up my channel, I just want to chop it up with other Knicks fans. There's a whole bunch of fans on Twitter, but Knickanator is someone I really follow. Great personality. Someone
Appreciate you.
always want to chop it up with. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna talk a little bit about the off season. We've had a lot of movement already, even though it's not player movement. Um,
Yeah.
we've had some curves already. Um, so what have you thought of this off season so far? Are you kind of shocked how we got the off season started?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to go out to Indiana for the final game of our season. So I was at game six and it was surreal. I was sad, obviously, but it was the kind of thing that I looked at it like, man, we've slowly climbed and had progression every year. We're kind of moving into a space now that we hadn't been before. We're in contender talk. So even though I was getting yelled at and booed at and all the other things that were happening walking through Indiana and
Hmm.
just trying to get out of there, I still had this feeling like I was happy. I thought it was a success. And, boarding the plane and coming home, and I'm going to say literally within 48 hours, learning that we've lost our coach, it was just like, I don't know, like, I don't want to call it a haymaker,
Hmm.
but it just was out of the blue. Like it just was a punch in the gut that you were like, whoa, what's going on here? So, we lost Tom Thibodeau. I know there was some rumors about trades or whatever, but Tom Thibodeau moved on from. I had my pros and my cons with Tom. I thought that he was an old school guy and he was what everybody says. He was stubborn with change and difficult to really adapt to certain things. That he stuck to his model. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but just me myself, I look at some of the things that are happening with some of the players that are no longer here, and they're finding success in other teams. And these were players that we couldn't find a role for. And I thought those were all shortcomings of Tom Thibodeau. He couldn't build a system that complemented his players. He had to get players that fit within his model. And that seemed to be a little too tough to do for the front office because I think they recognized the ceiling and they decided it was time to move on. So yeah.
Yeah. I think my audio is doubling a little bit. Um, let me see.
Shout out to Tom Thibodeau, though. He put in the work. He gave us a foundation. He did a lot of good things for the organization. There's a part of me that's a little sad that we moved on from him because he is the face of change for us. Say what you want about what his shortcomings may be, but you can't take that away from him. So there's a part of me that's a little sad and curious about what's waiting for us on the other side. But at the same time, I'm gonna embrace that too. So. Hmm. Uh, It's funny because I guess because Game Six is fresh in my memory, and I went through it live. That's really what's just impressed in my memory. But you know, uh, we came back and won that one game at the Garden. What was that? Game five. But as far as the games in Indiana, that last one, that's the one that's really fresh in my mind. I was a little upset because I just felt like we had more to give. We really didn't give them our best punch. At a point where I saw Jalen show some of his frustrations with Nemhart, that kind of was a white flag to me. And I was down. The atmosphere was crazy. I mean, the atmosphere in that building, those guys get. The Garden is awesome. The Garden's a magic. I call it magical. The energy in the Garden is awesome. But holy moly, that place got crazy, man. Like you really felt the pressure from those. And I guess I'm used to being at the Garden where we're all cheering together. It's totally opposite being on the other end of the ball. But yeah, man, it was weird to see Tom Thibodeau do some things he didn't typically do, which kind of came across as desperation to me as far as rotations. Some of the stuff you saw with Shamit in the series where you really couldn't get him off the bench in some of the prior matchups. All that kind of screamed of desperation to me.
Yeah.
The fact that we had game one, and I think game one really set the series. The fact that we had game one slip out of our hands, we were up 14, 15 points with less than 3 minutes to play, and we have a historical collapse, and there was nothing there that he could do to kind of prevent that, to call a timeout, to get something going, to slow them down a bit. I thought that was a bit of an indictment on him as a coach, and ultimately, I think that game one cost us the series.
Yeah. Did you feel like this firing was due to the last series, or do you think it was like a over? He was being fired for the whole season.
Yeah, I would say it was because of the last series. Now, I think that over the course of not just the season but his tenure, there were things that were brewing, right? Like that he is who he is. He wants to do things his way. You have to kind of fall in line and accept what that is. And maybe that rubbed guys the wrong way, right? Because you saw some moments with Josh Hart, you saw some moments with Mikal Bridges where maybe he voiced some things that typically you wouldn't hear in the past. There was even frustration from OG, not directly towards the coach, but these aren't things that you typically see. I think it's healthy in a way because I think that you have to get that frustration out as a player. That happens, but it typically tends to happen behind the scenes in the locker room. So to have it boil over onto the floor where it's visible for the fans, I also thought that was a bad sign. So yeah, to answer your question, I do think that that final series was the straw that broke the Bulls' back, so to speak. Yeah, I think that series kind of did him in.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, because for me personally, I really thought I really thought he was gonna be fired even before we hit the playoffs.
Really,
Like
really.
I'm on the channel, I was saying, oh, this is he's 2023 Budenholzer right now. Like he's win the thing or go home. I was just frustrated on the season.
You were
Um,
out.
I was out. You know what? I saw what Denver did with their coach. I
Right.
saw what Memphis did with their coach, and I said the Knicks would never do it, but they're there.
Yeah, that's where I was. I was like, the Knicks will never do it. That's where I was with it.
Yeah, they'll never do it, but I think we're there. I think we're dead man walking.
Oh
Uh,
God. Yeah, I
dead man.
mean, yeah, pretty much though, pretty much.
Yeah. I think Tom did a lot of good things in New York, and I think a lot of people, the word firing has such a bad
Connotation to it, yeah.
connotation to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times when you think of somebody got fired, it's like you're punishing them for
Right.
something they did. And,
Well,
and
let me stop you there, Phil. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to be clear because I've actually avoided. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually try to avoid some of the stuff that's going on because there's so much information, so much room. I shouldn't say information, but there's just so much stuff out there right now that I'm almost a little confused. Did he actually get fired, or was he just relieved of the head coaching duties? Because like Steve Mills didn't get fired, right? Steve
no,
Mills is just the area of the conglomerate.
no,
Doing,
he's fired.
he's fired. Okay, okay.
He's fired. But, yeah, because I think who was it? A few people got fired from MSG, and they said, "Oh no, we're transferring to a different." You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To
You ever saw the movie Office Space where they moved the guy's
to the
desk to the
basement.
basement? Yeah. So they moved Thibodeau's desk to the basement.
It's and this one is like, hey, we got championship aspirations.
I mean, yeah, that's it. That's really it, man. In a way, I was shocked to be honest. I didn't think they would fire him, but in a way, you kind of have to tip your hat to Leon Rose because Leon Rose has a relationship with Thibodeau that goes back years, and for him to make a decision like that shows you that he's prioritizing winning. He recognizes what the shortcomings are and thinks that we deserve better. So, shout out to Leon Rose for being strong enough to take that step. Some people, they can't make that move.
Yes, you know what I mean. We all work regular jobs, and you've always been in that. I've been in like places where like it's very family centric, and he ain't gonna fire his cousin. You know what
Right.
I mean? He gonna make some excuses. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? How it is, but the Knicks didn't do it that way. Now, my personal thing is like, okay, they're being serious right now. They're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I was stunned, man. I was really surprised.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But
So, mhm.
season on a whole, though, great season, right? You have Jalen Brunson Clutch. What was it? Clutch Award winner, right? The Captain Clutch Award, second team, right? Made second team.
Hmm.
You had Carl Towns, who was like 24 and 12. I think he also made second team or third team, I forget. He had some monster back-to-back games with 40 points. Josh Hart, right? Josh Hart led
Hmm.
the season. He broke the record for triple doubles in a season,
Hmm.
right? So he did what he did. So a great season. I almost felt like it was two seasons in one because for me personally, I really was waiting for the return of Mitch. Mitch was so big for me, and I felt like what we were looking at was just a rendition, an incomplete picture of what we would actually go into battle with. So I was happy when Mitch returned, and I almost feel like there's untapped potential on what that team can be, but I don't know that we're going to reach it because much like the season prior, where injuries kind of robbed us of opportunity, this time it's not injuries robbing us of opportunity. We kind of fumbled an opportunity here to move on. We don't know that this team's going to be together. You already see the rumors that are happening out there. We just don't know what the future lies. So it's a little bittersweet. I'm happy that we got what we did, but I just feel there was more to be had there.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I'll give them their kudos for the season. Um, you can't argue with the win total,
Yeah.
but I've always had issues of how everything looked.
Fritz, you're tough, man.
I'm tough. I'm
I
tough.
didn't realize you were tough, man.
I'm tough. I'm a toughie. I'm like, I watch some of these games and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, we're not reaching our potential.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
herky jerky. It's real herky jerky. I think we were fighting a war every game. Like we were
That
fighting a war every
that
game.
that yeah, 100%.
And you know how there's certain teams and it's like you'll go into Golden State and you know what you're gonna get from Golden State night to night.
Yeah.
And um they have an identity, they have a brand, and I think the Knicks never had an identity or a brand
Wow.
all season. And it was just
Can I jump in there for a second?
mm-hmm,
You say that right. So one of the things that I had come to this conclusion about,
mm-hmm,
and I hate to say that I'm right, and maybe once I explain it, you can tell me if you think I'm right or not. But
mm-hmm.
right now, I do feel that I'm right. So I'm gonna say that in the second half, I felt like the team lacked lacked the killer instinct. The team lacked that Mamba mentality. There were episodes or there were games, and I know we can point at the schedule and say that's a schedule loss. When you start looking at the back-to-back losses to tanking teams in March, that was a red flag to me. Like, what's going on here? The fact that we would have these games where we get out to a slow or late start was almost unprofessional. Like these guys aren't focused, or we get late in games like Boston regular season, late in the season, and we have a chance to win, but now we're making turnovers, right? We're making little bonehead turnovers. And for me, that's a sign of not being crisp because in all those other opportunities, you kind of took it lightly. So now you find yourself up against the gun and now you're making little mental mistakes that happen because it's new to you. You're in this spot brand new. So I don't know. I always felt like the team kind of lacked a Mamba mentality, a killer instinct. And I think that surfaced in the playoffs because you had those episodes where they lost at home, where they really had commanding leads. And then, they let it slip away. So I don't know. For me, I want to say that was a thing that, although I don't think it's a hallmark of Tom Thibodeau, I think that Tom Thibodeau's teams are usually disciplined. It may have been a sign that maybe these guys were tuning him out a little bit
Yeah,
because these things happened. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. And also, I looked at our personnel, and I think when they made the trades this summer, there's like Cat's the best shooting big man of all time. Mikel Mikel Bridges known as a good shooter. Um, and yet Brunson was already a good shooter. So you're like, this is gonna be a really great shooting team. Like they're gonna shoot a lot of threes. Like this is gonna be a great shooting team. And it just no, the ball was not moving.
didn't materialize.
Didn't material, and we weren't shooting open threes. Like um, we weren't really shooting open threes. And then we came in. We labeled them wing stop, and wing stop wasn't wing stopping. So
Yeah,
I think it was just you
they were more
expected.
like yield stop or I don't know, wing yield or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it was almost like you were expecting something and you didn't get what I didn't get what I expected. And I guess maybe maybe it's the disappointment of not getting what I expected
So
throughout the season.
let me ask you that though. Your expectations were based on the personnel once acquired or watching them play
Once acquired.
once
Like
acquired. Okay.
you know what? I when you look on paper, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, on
Yeah.
paper,
Yeah.
this should be
Yeah.
a great shooting team. And
Absolutely.
then on paper, oh, Cat's gonna be shooting. You know, in Minnesota, he kind of took a back seat to Anthony Edwards last year. He kind of gave him the go ahead to take the leadership. So I'm like, okay, he don't have to take a back seat in New York. Like he's gonna be shooting that thing. He's gonna be getting his point. He started the season great, and then throughout the season, that 3 point shot was
More.
less.
Yeah.
He starts shooting it less and shooting it less. So I think it's kind of on me for expecting a certain thing and not getting it, and
But
and not. It's me as a fan. It was my expectation.
I think, listen, now let me go out on a limb here. I think Leon Rose agrees with your initial assessment. And that's why Tom Thibodeau is no longer here. Because to your point, Carl Towns, the greatest, one of the greatest, if not the greatest shooting big of all time, he's at maybe 3 shots from behind the arc a game, where you really should have been at least five, a minimum. The floor should have been five per game. And you really should have been setting up for that corner three, right? But he never set him up for that corner three, right? He got those on, everything was on their own, right? Or everything was catch and shoot. There was nothing drawn up for him to get that look. It was always something that came where somebody was bailing out, or he took the shot, early in the shot clock.
Hmm.
And that for me was like, that's a bad sign. Like, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's not
Yeah,
going to work down the
yeah,
long run. But he made some almost logo threes sometimes that you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy. But why am I only getting barely three a game? I should be getting five of these a game at the percentage that he was hitting them. But I don't know. I think that might be why Tom Thibodeau is no longer here.
yeah, yeah. Also, um, it. I don't think the players didn't look like they were having fun. And that's a totally objective thing. It's not in the stat sheet, but it didn't look fun. It didn't look fun for those players the last few months.
Yeah.
It didn't look fun. And a lot of people say, hey, there was a change in January, and I say I can kind of see it. It never it never looked fun. It like and players have to kind of enjoy the game to really
Of
get
course.
into it,
Of course.
and I think it kind of showed. And when
Did
they
you? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you catch Obi Toppin's comments after game one,
yeah.
where he was talking about the ball is free flowing and it gets you in the game, it gets you involved? I don't know if it was a sub or an indirect or whatever, but it kind of speaks to what you're explaining right now, because these guys tend to stand in the corner and wait for that bailout pass that comes from Jalen. And I don't want to shade Jalen in any way. I think this is the design of the office when you make it, because a lot of people that complain to me about, and I keep saying a lot of people when these people don't matter, but a lot of folks that jump on this bandwagon that they want to tear down Jalen and say that Jalen's a ball hog and this and that. I don't look at it that way, because we had the same conversations about Julius Randle under Tom Thibodeau. So then this is the design of the offense. I'm not going to blame Jalen for doing what basically the coach is asking him to do. So I don't know. I just, that always rubbed me the wrong way, man. So I think there's more to have with this team. Like you said, the shooting is amazing, but we're not putting these guys in the best positions possible to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I will go on to like our next question, like number three. We've heard the Knicks are on it early. They're looking at coaching candidates. They said they're looking high and low, so they're looking at elite coaches. They're looking at assistant coaches. They're looking at college coaches. They're looking at people who've never coached before. Um, are there some coaching candidates that stick out to you?
Well, I'm very simple, man. I'm the type that I'm a dog with a bone. Like once I lock in on somebody, it doesn't matter how realistic it is or isn't. This is who I feel should coach the team right now.
Yep.
And again, I know you might even laugh when I say this, but I would have loved to give Pablo Prigioni a shot at this team because I think that he knows the ground. He's got blood in the ground here, like they like to say when it comes to roots. I think he knows some of the key people involved. He knows some of the people in the front office. But I think a team that's on the verge of contending is not about to roll out a rookie head coach and especially a rookie head coach that apparently has the language barrier as far as speaking English.
Yeah.
But for
He
me, I
speaks
love
well. He speaks well. Like I was doing a little bit of it, like a deep dive,
oh really?
and
Okay.
and
I
I
I,
and
I like
he
Pablo.
yeah, he speaks well, and he runs the offense for Minnesota.
Yeah, I
So
know. I know. That's why I thought he would be a great candidate. But now that I've gotten that one out of the way, because again, I know that's not going to happen. Um, there was mention about Ime, and I thought Ime Udoka would be great. I don't see how they would pull that off, but I would I would think that's great. It would be messed up that we lose Nia Long as a fan, but I'd be willing to do that because I think that Ime is a great head coach. The other names that jump out to me, I mean, you'd be recycling Budenholzer, and I think Budenholzer is Tom Thibodeau light. So I don't know. Okay, I wouldn't be against it, but I don't know how much we actually upgraded from Tom Thibodeau if we do that. Same scenario with Mike Malone. I think that Mike Malone's a Tom Thibodeau clone. He's from that tree. So the only thing that I give Mike Malone, and I don't know where to put this, right? I don't know where to put this. You tell me. But Mike Malone won a championship, right? With a center that's not a good defender and a lead guard that's not a good defender.
mhm.
And guess what? The Knicks have that same exact scenario. So that intrigues me. So I wouldn't rule out Mike Malone, but that does intrigue me. But I do think that he's a Thibodeau clone or from the Thibodeau tree. So I don't think we're going to get too much difference there. And then the big name that everyone's floating around now is Jason Kidd. From what I understand, Jason Kidd is interested in the opportunity. Jason Kidd wants to coach in New York, but whether they can actually get that done with Dallas remains to be seen.
Yep. Yeah. I on the list, I think on your list, Jason Kidd and Mike Malone, I would consider like relationship coaches. Like there's some coaches like X and O's, and that's their bag. There's some who are just there's some people who try to just get the best out of
People, yes, yes, yes. I
you know
get
what I
that.
mean? The
Yeah,
Joe
absolutely, I get that.
the Joe Torre of basketball.
Right.
Joe Torre, like when I used to watch Joe Torre, is like he would never bunt. There was just like certain things Joe Torre would never do. I don't think he was a great coach as
Strategy
in
guy.
baseball, but like when he talked to his players, they believed and they did everything.
Well,
You know what I mean?
that's why him and Zim were great, right? And and I hated Pedro for tossing the old guy onto the ground like that, but I thought him and Zim were great together.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get that point wholeheartedly. Mike Woodson, I think, kind of falls into that clause as well. There are coaches that they know how to get the most out of players. There are coaches that they connect with players, and Jason Kidd is obviously one of those. Whoever he keeps on his staff would be interesting, right? Like he would have to bring in some sort of guru. Maybe he brings in Prigioni, I don't know, but he
No.
would need to bring in some kind of offensive guru because, yeah, I think he's like what you said. He's a good defensive coach, strategy wise, and I think he's a guy that can connect with players. He also has ties back to Casey, who's the trainer who we won an award with, and he has ties back to obviously Jalen Brunson. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be real interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually rooting for him. I'll be honest. I'll say it. I'm actually rooting that Jason Kidd does become the coach
Yeah.
of the people that have been mentioned. So
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if Lee's in the chat, but Lee is definitely not a fan of
really,
Jason Kidd. But
Lee's another tough cookie, man. Why we're not gonna talk about that, but Lee's another tough cookie. So yeah,
I know for me, um, I like Jason Kidd as a relationship coach. I do think you would need to make sure you have certain people on the bench if he is here. Um, there are two other coaches like I went hard for this year. Like as when it became January, I was already searching for coaches.
Wow. You've been waiting
and the two
a
coaches
long time coming.
I really rode hard for, and the first one was Dan Hurley. I really
Really?
rode for until until till the NCAA tournament, and he lost, and the meltdown that he had at the end, and I'm like, it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
ever went out with somebody and you're having good fun and they just do something like, we're never hanging out again.
You didn't,
it
you
was
didn't,
like it was
you didn't see that coming?
I didn't see it coming. Like he had a total meltdown, and I'm like, maybe NCAA they'll let you get away with a lot. Um, you can
Not the
scream and
pros.
yell, and we're in the pros. The leash is short. The leash is short, and
Listen, yeah, we all remember PJ Carlissimo got choked out by,
mm-hmm,
by an NBA player, and there are rumors that even not last year, but maybe 2 years ago, well, not even 2 years ago. When was it when was it Steve Mills had to banish Joe King Noah because he wanted to put the beats on
yeah,
Jeff Hornacek, so he had to send him to La La Land. Like this is not college, man. These guys are professionals, and you got to deal with them. So,
yeah,
but for me, it's funny. Before any of that, I always felt that there's a lot of you can't take away from the X's and O's, right? Like basketball is basketball. You got to give them their credit, the success that they've had. But MSG is a funny place. And when you get somebody like Hurley who's had that kind of success in Connecticut, a lot of ego that comes with that baggage and with his name, and you put that into that jackpot that is MSG, I don't know if he would handle that. That was the thing for me because there's a lot of ego involved when it comes to coaching. And these guys that coach at colleges or they coach at a small town or small market, you can have those big fish in a little pond scenarios.
mm-hmm,
But you bring those guys into the limelight or you bring those guys into MSG, and that's just a jackpot, man. That's just so I was never really big on him. I was interested in Jay Wright, obviously because of the roots with the players. I thought that would make sense, but I don't know how realistic that is.
yeah, yeah. I I know I
Okay, not a fan.
early before I was really like researching. It was one of those names I would quickly come off the top of my head, but then I saw why he stepped down from Villanova. He said he lost his love for the game, and it was too stressful. I'm like, okay, if it was like that in college, I wouldn't throw you into the NBA. First off,
Right.
um, but he connects with those players. Um, yeah, but it doesn't seem like he's too interested in taking that.
Right. Right. That's
But
kind of what I picked up on. So
but
you mentioned two guys. You said Danny was number one. Who's your number
Danny
two?
was number one, and my second was I was going with Rajon Rondo, and I found out I'm not the only person who thought of Rajon Rondo.
Wow. I I love Rajon Rondo. I kind of look at him like the way I look at Stackhouse, but I don't know. I don't know if it would fit in New York. I don't know.
Yeah,
I love what he is, right? As a competitor, and IQ has always been there on the court. You see that, so I have faith in him as far as that at a coaching level.
hmm,
Personalities, I don't know with the personalities, especially at MSG.
yeah,
I'm not against it though. I would love that. I don't think they make a move like that, but yeah, Rajon Rondo's. Hopefully, he gets a shot somewhere at some point because
yeah,
I think he would be really good as a head coach.
yeah. And he's so my thought on Rajon Rondo is not that he's like I think he'd be amazing. I think he has the X and O's down, and I think he has the innovative. I think he could be innovative, but he's the type of person where I would have like an experienced coach right next to him, like holding his hand the whole way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're gonna need hey, I'll bring up Mike Woodson again.
Yeah, someone like Mike Woodson
Yeah,
is like,
Mike
hey,
Woodson might be a good bridge
yeah, like a bridge, and be like, hey,
to the players. Yeah,
I'm gonna hold your hand through this. Like, you worry about that, and I'll take I'll handle some of that other stuff for you.
The thing about Rajon, and this comes across since he was a player to even when you see him sometimes in interviews, he is very no nonsense. Not that he doesn't have a sense of humor or anything like that. I'm sure he does, but he is very no nonsense. He's efficient in his words. Like he doesn't waste words. He's a no nonsense kind of guy. So I don't know. It would
Mm-hmm.
be interesting. Like I said, if they hired him, I'd be pleasantly surprised. Like, all right, let's go do it. But I just don't see that happening because of the personality that he is.
Okay.
I think he would probably thrive in like a Memphis. Memphis would be a great program for him. Not program, but a great team for him to take over. Or New Orleans even. New Orleans would be a great team for him to take over.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
disrespect to Willie Green, I think it is that's out there. No disrespect to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But those markets, I think he would do well.
Yeah. Where you have young players, you could probably get away with a little bit. But when you got superstars, they don't give as much as these other players do.
And there's also the Northeast media, man. Northeast media is I don't know what it is about the Northeast, but it is intense, man. Whether you're in Philly, you're in Boston, you're in New York, they're coming with it, man. So you're not gonna get some of those questions that you get in Memphis and Charlotte, and the Northeast. They're gonna come with some barbs for you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we can go to our next question, and as it relates to coaching, do you think whoever the next incoming coach is going to change the personnel?
Do I think the next coach will change the personnel? Um, Instinctively, I would say no. And I'll tell you why. Because you've got a new face in a new place. The aprons are serious here. We've traded away a lot of capital. So I know we have that MLE, I think it's called, to play with, but there's not a lot of room to kind of get crazy. So I know there's been some whispers about blockbusters. I don't even want to say names. But to answer your question, no, I don't think that he's coming in the door changing personnel. I don't. Maybe he changes roles. Like maybe Josh does finally go to the bench, and maybe we get to see Huck Porty a little more. And heaven forbid, Pacome Dadier gets a few minutes. But yeah, I don't see as far as changing personnel. No, I don't see that.
Okay. Yeah, because you've heard of some coaches like that has to go, that has to go. I think they're.
Oh wait. As far as assistant coaches, I just assumed
Oh no, I meant like
the
players
roster.
roster.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
the
think
coaches. I'm pretty sure the coaches, most of them.
Yeah. Whether it's Rick Brunson or whether it's whoever it is, it's not even to single Rick out, but he's just the one that I know. Whether it's Dice, Coach Dice, whether whoever it is, I think they're all under review because when the guy comes in, he's gonna want his people, right? He's gonna want to bring in his team. So
Mm-hmm.
I think all those guys are subject to change, quote unquote.
Okay. Okay. And the next question: do you think big changes are coming? So not just a little thing here, a little there. Do you think the Knicks they're gonna big swings?
I don't know. I want to say no, but it's just hard to pretend to be immune to my timeline. And my timeline is sending me people from Milwaukee and it's sending me all this other stuff right now. And I want to say no. I hope that the new coach comes in, sees what he can implement as far as his system, and then sees where these players can go, and then make some adjustments, maybe by the trade deadline or over the next summer. If possible, I would think we run it back. Making changes out on the fringes,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we make any substantial change, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, the rumors are like inescapable right now. Like
it is so tough.
You know what I mean? I've always like maintained that this summer they're gonna add someone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like people are talking like big names, but
Right,
I was like,
right,
okay, I was like, oh, like a fringe, someone who's like a fringe all star, someone like that, fringe, someone who's not an all star, but in your mind they're like, oh, they're almost there. You know what I mean?
And I want to see stuff like, just hypothetically speaking, not to just single this one guy out and say that this is the guy that Knickanator wants, stop the press, but like Alonzo Ball, right? Like that's the guy that makes sense for me, right? He defends, he's got size, he's a ball handler, he's a playmaker, and he's low key. It's a low key guy, right? He just punches in. He does what he's got to do. He's not a high maintenance guy. I like a guy like that because I think he complements Jalen. If we take Campaign and Landry Shamet and replace that set of minutes, I don't even want to say. And shout out to both of them individually. I just didn't believe in the trio that was Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, and Campaign. I didn't think DeLon Wright came in late in the season. He did a lot of good things,
Hmm.
but limiting Campaign's erraticness because Campaign could be erratic, right? But a guy like what's this kid in Philadelphia that comes off the bench, the wing? He's a little bugged out himself.
Oh yeah.
But he had like the bike accident. And he tried to hide it. What's this kid's name?
Oh yeah. I was talking about him yesterday.
He was with Charlotte, right? Or he was with Golden State. I forgot who he was with.
Yeah.
Oubre. Oubre.
Oh right. Yeah.
Yeah, that type, like that archetype, we seriously lack that. We don't have our wing depth is non-existent to me, and I don't look at Josh like a wing, even though he admirably does it.
Hmm.
See when he's outmatched. Like for me, I'm mad at Tom Thibodeau when you're putting Josh Hart in a position to guard Pascal Siakam. I'm mad at Tom Thibodeau when you're putting Josh Hart in a position to defend Obi, where he's got like 4 inches on him and has springs and can leap. Like, come on, like Josh. I love Josh. Josh is heart. He battles. He does everything that he can with his God-given ability. But you are putting him in a position. It makes me feel like I'm at work, like my job, where they put me in these impossible positions. When I look at Josh Hart out there, because when I see Josh on Pascal, I just look at Tom like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
What are you doing? So I would love to see us get some sort of legitimate wing on that bench, to kind of bolster the roster. But those are the moves I'm looking at, like on the fringes. I'm not looking at any of the core or the key players, nothing
Okay.
like that.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. And yep, we jumped those. Okay. We're gonna get to like general NBA stuff. Do you have a
Okay.
prediction for the finals? Yesterday we had crazy game.
I didn't watch. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't watch. I'm still bitter that we're eliminated. I'm still angry that we're not playing. I'm not even so caught up in Tom Thibodeau being fired, especially leaving Indiana, man. I wish we were still playing. So I didn't want. Maybe I'll tune in the rest of the way, but I couldn't watch last night, man. I'm
Yeah.
still mad we're not there.
Yeah. You know what I did is I watched the first quarter, and then for the rest of the game I was checking on the phone,
Yeah.
the score, and then at the end it got close, and I still didn't tune in. And then
Kudos to you, man.
I got tweets. Then I got like
That's how I realized.
text on my phone. Text on my phone. I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah, tweets are what got me. I'm like, what? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So yeah.
But I have Oklahoma. I expect the Thunder to pull that out. The Pacers weren't going to get swept. They're going to get one, whether it was at home or on the road. So maybe it's a 6-game series now, whatever, 4-2, whatever.
Yeah.
But I still expect the Thunder to pull this out.
Yeah. My guess was OKC in 6. So
Okay, yeah, I'm there. I'm there as well.
yeah. Okay. There are some big names on here, but we're talking general NBA. KD is being moved. Where do you think KD ends up?
So I think Houston makes a lot of sense, but I think he probably ends up somewhere like San Antonio. I think there's interest with San Antonio. I think there's mutual interest between him and San Antonio. What the cost actually is, whether they can do it with just player capital or if it's going to cost them draft capital. I think the difference there is whether they're really willing, they being San Antonio, to give up Castle. I think Castle gets it done. Maybe Castle and Vassell, or what's that crazy kid they got? Sochan.
Shoshan, yeah.
I can't pronounce his name. I think he's a French kid. Him and either Vassell or Stefan would land KD at this point. KD's really got about a 48-month window in his career that he can probably still contribute at a high level to a contender. So with Wemby there, with the talent that they have and the draft capitals that they have, I think San Antonio makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I mentioned Houston, and then I don't know. I never thought about him for us. Not that I would hate the idea, but I just don't see it for whatever the reason. I just don't see it when it comes to draft capital. You know, Phoenix, they've got an owner, Matt Ishbia or
Yep.
something. I can't
Hmm.
pronounce his name. So he's a bit of a wild card in himself. He might have a little bit of James Dolan in him, where he wants to get involved and get into the nitty gritty. So when you have someone like that, it's tough to say. But they have the worst contract in the NBA in Bradley Beal. They have probably one of the most talented two guards in the league in Devin Booker. It's kind of hard to predict how they move. I don't think they rebuild. I think they retool, but I definitely think that KD is on the move, and I think he probably ends up in Texas for one of the Texas teams. That's about it for me. I can't even think beyond that.
Yeah. KD. I think. Hmm. Yeah, because he did turn down a Golden State trade last
Did
deadline.
he?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
that's why he's upset.
Yeah, I'm
That's why he's
sure.
upset. I think they were about to trade him to Golden State, and then he was like, I didn't think you would try to trade me like that. So, um, hmm.
I mean, can you see him heading to the East at all? Like, I don't know. Miami doesn't have the draft capital. Who could actually? Detroit, they're still too far away, even though they're a good and up and coming team. Cleveland doesn't really make sense because of their bigs. I don't know.
Yeah, he wants to win. He wants to.
Right. Right.
That's like all that matters at this point. Um, Houston makes sense to me.
Houston does make sense.
Houston makes sense to me.
You get a lot of your draft capital back too if you're Phoenix.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that goes to like one of my next question about the Sun. Yeah, do the Suns rebuild or do they?
Oh, oh, yeah, I think I answered that. No, I think they retool because I think that their owner seems to be the kind of guy that wants to be on Front Street. So I think the idea of a rebuild is not what he's interested in. I think they'll retool like the way Miami's always retooled and retooled and never actually pulled the plug completely and tanked. I think they retool. And until they figure out what they're doing with Beal, they're going to be in that space
Yeah,
because that's just a huge contract with a lot of money tied up and a player that is not producing for you. So, yeah, they're going to have to try and win in spite of him.
yeah. I did a little video yesterday, and I said why I think they're gonna rebuild, and it's because of Beal.
Can you bring it up while we're on?
Um, no, I no, actually I
Hey,
can't. But I think what it was like what I explained is because they basically said they don't want Beal back,
oh my
which is the weirdest thing ever because you'd never say.
did Ishba say that? The Ishbia, whatever his name is?
Yeah, he said I'll
That is
basically
crazy.
trade Beal for anything,
Yeah,
but
well,
Beal at the same time is like I'm not I'm not moving my family. Like there's like probably one or two places he wants to go, and if it's not that, he's cool where he's at. And they're like, nah, we're not cool, so we may actually have to cut you. And I think he's kind of cool with that too. So
but
I
Fritz, I'm
mhm.
sorry to do this to you live. Can I get a minute? I need
Sure,
to
no
check on
problem.
I just need to check on my mom. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so just a little bit more information on that Suns reference. So they basically said they want Bradley Beal back. Um, at the same time, they're definitely trading KD. They said they want to trade KD before the draft or during the draft, which is interesting. Um, so if that happens, you definitely have Devin Booker hanging around a team with no other stars. Um, I know they put out the word that he was in the coaching search, but I think maybe that's a distraction because there's no way um, Devin Booker at 29 years old is gonna stick around for a 4 year rebuild. When it's a clunky rebuild because you don't have all your picks back. Um, and while we're going, I'm just gonna go through some of these comments. I thank you guys for just checking in. It's been a great conversation. Brandon Williams, Coach CR 617, Ebony, Yeah. Brandon Williams. Thank you for uh Legion of Knicks podcast. So salute everybody in the chat. Thanks for hanging out. We even see a sighting by Lee.
Gotta get over Lee afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you hear anything about the Suns? So I basically said the Bradley Beal they don't want back. They may actually like stretch provision him like the old what we did to Allen Houston. So they don't have to pay all of his salary at once.
Right.
Um,
Joakim Noah as well. We did the same thing.
yeah, yeah. So if there's no Bradley Beal as one superstar down, and you trade Katie by the draft,
I mean,
that's two
that does free up some
superstars down.
space. That would free up some space. Not a lot of space, but that would free up some space.
Yeah, it gets them to about even. Actually, more about even because you still pay money. You just don't pay
Mhm. It's a smaller
as
percentage,
yeah
yeah.
smaller percentage. But basically, you would have Devin Booker by himself, him and Ryan Dunn, and a bunch of others.
Shout out to Book, man, because he is committed to the area. He is committed to the team. He's doing the right thing by the organization. So shout out to him, man.
Yeah. So just my in my mind, I'm like, are they just trying to keep Booker's value high,
Absolutely.
or are they Booker really is going to hang around? So so that's my thoughts on the
Phoenix.
Sun Phoenix. The next person who's all in the news is Giannis.
Yeah. He actually just came up on the screen. I don't know if you can recognize that from your episode, but
Yeah.
he's the first character at the top of that list. And for some reason it got my attention. I had to look, and it was Giannis.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah. So do you think there's a team that's kind of ready for Giannis right now?
I think it's us. I think he wants to be in New York. I do think he wants to be in New York. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I think the team is competitive enough to get his interest. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's interested in a rebuild. I don't think that he's the kind of guy that's caught up in what do you call that? I don't want to call it drama, for lack of a better word, but
Mm-hmm.
like what Phoenix has going on right now. There's between the owner and there's a lot. That he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that wants to be part of something like that. So if you factor all those things in, Boston's going to be in hell when it comes to salary cap. They have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
decisions to make there. They're in flux. So I don't think they're going to look at Giannis. I think it's us now. Whether we have the draft capital, right, to make something happen, I don't think so. But I do know we have the salary cap space available to make a deal like that. Um, Carl Anthony Towns kind of works one for one almost. If not, then you've got to get creative with maybe OG and someone else, which I would hate because I am really a big fan of OG Anunoby on this team. I'm a big fan of all of our starters, so I don't even want to single him out. But
Mm-hmm.
I would hate if it came down to OG Anunoby leaving our team. I'm really happy with him being a Knicks, so
Yeah.
we'll see. But I can't even think beyond that. I'm sure there's a fit somewhere. Maybe I'm just not thinking about it. I kind of have my antennas out as far as the NBA on a whole, but I'm really just my time and everything. I'm just focused on the Knicks, man. So all I can really speak to is us.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So the two places like I've been like writing out scenarios, because I try to make sure the trades make sense for everybody involved.
Yeah.
And
I
okay,
give you credit with that. I watched your channel. I've checked out your channel, and you always you're the type that crosses the T's and dots the I's. So you don't really bring it to the table unless it makes sense. So I do appreciate that about your channel.
yeah. So the two teams, um, I think the Knicks are aggressive enough. Like I don't think the Knicks are probably the best fit. Like we're absolutely ready for this and we have everything. I don't think we have everything, but I think they are aggressive enough that they would actually do it. And the other team I think is Miami. I think Miami. Um,
How does Miami land him though? They don't have the capital.
they do. It would be kind of. I think what they would kind
What
of
did they
do.
get for Jimmy? What did they get for Jimmy? Did they get draft pick?
Wiggins. They got Wiggins. They got a draft pick. But they got two firsts over there. They got two, and they
Gotta
got
blame.
a first this year. So they actually have three
You get
at
all
their
right, all right,
disposal.
all right. You
But
gotta blame Nico Harris.
they would have to give up Bam. They would have to give up.
Right.
They would have to give up a few players. But I think for Miami, gut it out a year with a cup, a decent team, and then next summer maybe add someone else. But I don't think it'll
Yeah.
be perfect from day one. Um,
Yeah. I don't see Miami at all, only because I don't see a fit. Was you assuming that you keep Tyler Hero then? And
my my assumption is you keep
is
up
you
Tyler
so you
Hero.
got an inside out action between him and Tyler,
Yeah,
and then you're just gonna sprinkle around the edges.
yeah,
I think that's what they tried to do with Dame.
yeah. It's almost like that. Like for
Right.
1 year, you're gonna look like Milwaukee last year.
Right. I don't think Giannis is interested in that. He
Yeah,
would stay put for that.
yeah. But I think he said he likes. They talk about lists and stuff that he likes Miami, like as a, you know, like a physical location and
Yeah. I
as a
mean,
team.
hard to it's hard to knock Miami, man. But
I've been Miami like 3 times. Like it's
I've never been to Miami. Just the weather and the taxes. I hear it's awesome, but
yeah, it's kind of fake. Like for me, it's kind of fake, but it's a nice city.
I
Look,
always thought of Miami like Fordham Road with nice weather. I don't know. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction of it, but or the
maybe
Junction, the Flatbush Junction with nice weather. Like I don't know,
maybe because
Flatbush Junction with bikinis.
yeah, because like you watch these shows on TV, they show you the strip. They show you the strip, but once you get off the strip, it's like Miami
Right,
ain't like that.
like Vegas, like Vegas.
Yeah, it's
Vegas ain't nothing but the Strip. That's it.
yeah, a lot of condos, a lot of like they got
The
these
weather.
little side cities, but they're all like high rise condos and stuff like that. It's different. It's real different.
I
Um,
say New York, man. I think if he presses that button and decide, otherwise he would stay put for a year.
yeah,
But I think if he does decide he wants out, he's going to ask for New York, and then it's going to be up to the front offices to find something that works,
yeah,
right? Something that makes Milwaukee feel whole.
yeah. We were in the group chat. Um, some some of them was like, oh, we'll give up Cat and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, there's only one player I know would definitely be in that trade, and I said, OG is definitely in any of those trades.
Yeah.
I think OG like I think
Yeah.
as a receiving team, like to get something back, if I'm gonna be bad, like a wing will never go out of style. And I think OG on like a team where you just let OG run wild.
And he's
And
not going to care. He's
yeah,
going to get his money. He's not going to care.
yeah. I mean, but if you let OG run wild, his value will be even higher. So I think a wing will never go out of style. But you put Cat on that team, and he could get the same stats he had this year. Like his value is gonna go down. I think OG. I think his
Well, the flip side to that coin also is if you play Josh at the two, slide Macau to the three, play Giannis at the four, and Carl at the five, and then Carl is your spacing big in that offensive set. It kind of works.
yeah.
It kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that. Again, I would hate to lose OG, but I can see that. So
Yeah, I was kind of playing around with some of those, and I even kind of expanded larger. And it's like try to get someone else in at the same time. Um,
what, like a DeMar DeRozan, like what?
let me see, because
'Cause we do need another guy with gravity. We do need that in the worst way.
yeah, I have some small trades with people who have gravity. Okay, no, that's not it. Giannis. Oh, okay. I had a my last one. So I'll have this on the Nick of Time show on Sunday.
Shout out to the Nick of Time show.
Keontae George. But in this trade, Mikal and OG would be out.
Mikal and OG?
Mikal and OG. And this was like given like enough to Milwaukee that Milwaukee wouldn't turn it down. The Jazz enough that they wouldn't turn it down. So basically, we get Giannis, KJ Martin, Keontae George.
I see it. Oh, I hate it. I hate that I see it, but I see it.
And
I do see it. I see what you're doing.
What Milwaukee gets is Mikal Bridges.
George is a tough player.
Yeah, and like he's ascending. He's like ascending player.
Yeah.
But I think he's good enough now. Like he's just like a player. Like okay, he's good enough now, but he's only gonna get better. So Milwaukee would get Mikal Bridges, Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and Deuce.
Deuce. Right, we gotta give him something. You gotta give him something.
Yeah, and Jazz would get OG and one of our swaps. And to make the salary work, you have to throw like a fourth team in. You would throw the Washington Wizards would get Precious at $9 million for basically for 1 year, and they get their pick back. Basically,
they might do that.
So it's like, and I know as the first time they saw it, they were like upset, and then I explained it to them, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it makes sense." But then
I see it right away. I don't like it, but I get it. I get what you're doing.
Yeah. So
I don't know, man. I'd be looking at guys, and I'm like, how can we get Jonathan Kuminga on it? Well, I wanted Jonathan Kuminga when I thought Tibbs was going to be the coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the guy that would thrive under Tibbs because Tibbs is going to say, give him the ball and get out of the way like he's Doug Collins in 1985 or 86, whatever that was. But, Jonathan Kuminga, guys like that, I like. But when you start talking about Giannis, man, I don't know. I love what Giannis is. I love that he's not your mainstream NBA player. I don't want to knock the guys that came out of the AAU program, but the guys that come from overseas have a different foundation when it comes to the game. And Giannis is one of those guys, so I appreciate that. Just as an old school guy, a lot of the guys that come up in the system here in the States, everything is points oriented. Nobody's ready to do the dirty work, and then you get guys that do it begrudgingly and then become one-way players. Because look at Josh. Like Josh has forgotten that the rim exists. He gets a clean look, and he's looking for an assist. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think he's the one player that you would put on the Knicks, and it's like he's the guy. And I don't think there's another player that you could put on the Knicks. And he's like, even KD. I don't think if you put KD on the Knicks, I don't think he would
doesn't necessarily. Yeah,
I don't think he would outdo Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson would still be considered the guy. So I think he's the one guy who's like, yo, he comes in, okay, it's Giannis's team.
Yeah, and that's a guy that can handle New York. I don't have any qualms about, because that's the thing for me. There are a lot of guys. I always fall back to Tony Campbell from back in the day, but there are a lot of guys that we've gotten that couldn't handle New York, right? Like when they get empty buckets elsewhere, but when you put them in that situation, they don't really thrive. So I don't know. Like I think Giannis is a guy that would thrive in New York City. I don't think this is not an atmosphere that would eat him up. You know, he would thrive here. So
yeah, I think Giannis he's the one. He's one of the few players I think I've seen like put team on his back.
Yeah, you saw the game 7 he had in the finals. Holy, he went crazy. He went crazy. 34 points, whatever. I think he almost had a triple double. He went crazy. And I love Patrick Ewing. Like I am a Patrick. If I was such a thing as a stan, I don't believe in standing, but if I was a stan, I would tell you I'm a Patrick Ewing stan because Patrick Ewing brought it every night. He set a standard for the team, and everybody had to fall under that. But in Game 7 against Houston, Patrick kind of came up small, and I can own that, right? And I can live with that, and I can understand what it is. If you go back to the history books and you look at Clyde Frazier came up huge in the Game 7, right? Clyde Frazier let it be known, right? Like, this is who I am under pressure. We're not losing this game. And everybody talks about the Willis Reed moment, but you look at that game and it's Clyde driving that. Anyway, I don't even want to get into that, but fast forward to Giannis. Giannis is that guy.
Yeah,
Game 7, he stood tall, man. So you want guys like that in the building.
yeah, yeah. I think Giannis is the type of guy. He was in Milwaukee. Like he was in Milwaukee, small market. Nobody wants to be in Milwaukee. I think he's the type of guy like if he came to New York, like a couple guys might come too. You know what I mean? I don't think you're not just buying into Giannis. I think he has enough gravity where okay, I'll sign on for a minimum. Or
We, we're in the first apron?
technically, it's real weird, but
Borderline. We're like
borderline. In your
the
mind, you should say
700,000
we're
and 1.5 with penalties, something like that.
yeah. So we're basically first apron
Right.
until we make a trade. If you make a trade, if you make sure that you take back, you're gonna have to make sure you take back less, but then you get a little bit more room. You're not really, and what I think a lot of people are saying, hey, if we shorter trade by 4 million, we have 4 million more to spend, and it doesn't quite work like that.
Right.
So you can still trade. So if you take Cam, you know, you sign and trade, PJ Tucker, and you do stuff like that, you can start using some of that space. But it's not just all free agent money. It's not all, you can't spend it how you
Yeah.
like.
It's
Mhm.
it's a lot more complicated now with these aprons and how they did
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
And I think that's on purpose. I think that's by design. I think they want to spread parity within the league. They want to kind of control the dynasties, but it makes it tough when
Mhm.
you're a team like the Knicks that is at the threshold, right? Like they're at there, and now you have to be incredibly careful to find the right scenario that actually fits that will help you get over the top.
Yeah.
It's tough right now. It's tough, man.
Yeah. I think it's different. Like I think a lot of times in the past, you can get you had like GMs to be like, I want that. Just give me the player. We'll figure it out later. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, I just want two guys. Give me two guys. We'll figure out the rest later. Like now, you
Can't do it
can't
anymore.
figure out the rest later. Like you have to
No,
know.
yeah,
You have to know what that's gonna look like next year. You're gonna have to know what it looks like the second year.
that's why Brock Aller is here. I think that's his specialty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me see one last team. We talked about Brooklyn, the other New York team, and they have a lot of money to spend. Do you think Brooklyn is going to be competitive next year?
It's tough to say. So I'm probably a little bit more in tune with Brooklyn than I ever would want to admit because of my brother. My brother's a big Brooklyn Nets fan. We go to games together. I've actually gone to non-Nick games that were Brooklyn Nets games because he had an extra seat. I was like, oh, I don't want to go to waste. What are you doing? All right, fine, I'll go. But the the Nets, man, I don't know. They have the kid Jalen Wilson, right? They've got Clowney. They've got a lot of interesting pieces on their roster that are young players that are on the come, right? Like they're on the verge of kind of transcending into this next veteran space. So they're in a weird place. I don't think they have enough allure, despite the draft capital, and we'll see how it plays out on draft day, to land a star. I don't think anyone. This, if you're looking at KD, well, I'm not kidding. KD's a bad person to bring up, but you look at Giannis. Giannis at 30 years of age, where he is in his career. I don't care how much draft capital that you give Milwaukee. He's not going to go back to a rebuilding program. He's not
Mm-hmm.
about to go under the wing with Cam Thomas and go to battle. That's
Mm-hmm.
not about to happen. So, with them, maybe they get a player that's like the way that we got Julius Randle. Remember we got Julius Randle and
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like a consolation prize because we didn't land KD and Kyrie. Maybe they make a move like that. I don't know who that guy is, but maybe they make a move like that. But I think for all intents and purposes, that's a team that took a loss in the lottery because they tanked and ended up with like the eighth or ninth pick or 12th pick, whatever the hell it was. And I think they'll run it back. Now, I like their coach. Um, I know Cam Thomas is. I confuse them. Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson, the guard.
Ki-
I'm ref-
They,
that's
they
Thomas,
they're both. They have both.
right? But the guard.
Johnson is the tall one.
Okay, thank you. So Cam Thomas, he's a bucket. He's a walking bucket, but he reminds me of Carl Towns in a way, and he reminds me of Michael Beasley in a way. These are players that I call basketball bimbos, right? Like they can get a bucket, but they're aloof to everything that's going on around them. They're aloof to whatever the strategy may be that's going on around them. So he's a bucket though. So okay, you can live with one guy that's a weak defender that's a bucket. You can do that. Now, how do you complement him? I think Claxton is great. I think Wilson is solid. You know, are they going to be able to get another guy in there? People want money. I'm sure they're going to find somebody, but I don't think they land a star, man. I think they're going to find themselves in a play-in pursuit scenario without a star. That's where I think they're going. Unless they get like a Walker Kessler because Danny Ainge is desperate and wants to just get draft capital, they could probably not Walker Kessler. What's the Scandinavian kid, the 7-footer that they got?
Oh yeah, yeah. What was?
Yeah, the Scandinavian
He
kid
used to play in Bulls. Yeah.
Yes, marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe marketing, right? And they can do something around something like that because Danny Ainge is greedy for picks and they're stocked up, obviously. So, but other than that, no, man, I don't. I see run it back, and they're gonna have a very similar year to the year they just had. I do like their coach, though. I do like Jordy Fernandez.
Yeah.
I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Nets?
They're interesting. They're just one thing, just overall with the Nets, that they never like are patient enough to like build it the right way. They always get to a point.
They're there.
I mean, they always get to a point. It's like, hey, let's get some superstars instead of like, hey, you get these players, you invest in these players, you watch them grow up, and then you add a little stuff to it later. But just they'll scrap it for like a star.
I tell you, maybe because I watched them more because of my brother. I want to be careful what I say here because I'm a diehard Knicks fan, of course, all day, every day. But I do kind of have like a liking for them, and I do watch them with interest because not that I want them to do well, but I find them intriguing because, rewind the clock before they did everything they did for KD and Kyrie. Kenny Atkinson was putting in good work with them.
Yeah, I thought they were. I thought they were on the path.
They did a lot of good things. They maximized the. I don't want to call him the white boy. I can't think of his name. It's so disrespectful. I don't even know if he's still in the league. But the catch and shoot kid from 3, he was like 6'6". He had the defensive substitutions because he knew late in the game, the space cadet from the Lakers that always did the thing with the arm.
Yeah. D'Lo.
Right, he can't defend, so he would bench D'Lo and he would play Spencer. And then Spencer was such a nut, even though he wasn't there for defense. Spencer wanted to be the closer, and it was funny to watch that dynamic play out. But the Nets have something in talent and youth, and I almost admire it because they're in a real interesting place. If they kind of stick to what they're doing and kind of don't get thirsty and go out and star hunting or whatever, they could really set themselves. They have enough draft capital, they have enough talent, they have a great coach. I think they could just kind of walk the long mile and get to a good place, but I don't know if they're going to have the discipline to do that. Like you said, I think they might go star hunting or star chasing and reset it all over again and be the Brooklyn Nets that we know, but
yeah,
it's an interesting team, man.
Yeah,
Jalen Wilson is nice, man. Cameron Johnson is nice. Claxton's a little light in the ass, but he's a decent defending big. Maybe you get somebody in there. I don't know. They have potential, man. They do, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's most of the questions I have. I've kept you for a while.
Wow, it's 10 o'clock already. Holy moly!
Yeah. So talk a little bit about your. Do you have a YouTube channel along with the Twitter? Or?
Yeah, I mean, so what I want to do is, the content that I want to bring to people. It's about the Knicks, but it's not analysis of the Knicks, or it's not game by game coverage of the Knicks. I'm more interested in the life of a diehard. I've been a season, and there are guys. Shout out to Greg Armstrong. Shout out to DP Captain David, whatever, I don't know his last name, but David, cool as shit. And I've met these people. Of course, Anthony MSG. But there's a culture. Like, what I've learned? I've learned there's a culture to MSG.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I've been going there since we were bad. 17 wins, and Alonzo Trier on opening day having the dunk against the Atlanta Hawks, and I thought we were about to be off on an amazing season, right? And then the very next game we lose to the Brooklyn Nets because David Fizdale chose a learning moment with Tim Hardaway, and I forgot the kid's name, Levert, and we lost that game, and then we went on to win 17 wins. But I've been a season ticket holder since then, and there's a culture to it. There's a community to it. There's something to the diehard that I want to bring to the people. So right now we're up. We're doing really well. You have a lot of casuals. You have a lot of cloud chasers. You have a lot of people. Like if you walk, I don't even walk in on Seventh Avenue because it's just madness. There's everybody out there with a camera and they're recording content and they want to be seen. And it's just food. Like I remember when it was 17 wins, bro. That wasn't out there. The only person out there was maybe Papa Left, and I was mad at him because he was trying to have like a little rap concert, and I was late to the game. Like, get out of the way, dude. I didn't know him yet. I hadn't met him yet, but I do remember Papa Left rapping outside of the garden. But that's what I want to bring the timeline. That's what I want to bring to people. I don't want. Shout out to the people that do that. You got KOT, you got Knicks Fan TV. You have guys that when we were bad gave us somewhere to go to really talk about our team and have real conversation about our team because mass media, national media, we were LOL Knicks, right? We couldn't have a real conversation about the Knicks
Mm-hmm.
with national media. We were the butt of their jokes. But shout out to Jay Ellis, right? You could go tune into Nick of Time show and have a real conversation about the Knicks and understand where we were and what we wanted. Shout out to Jonathan Macri, who was in love with Frank Ntilikina. Frank Ntilikina was a bum, and that was bared out, but fine. Shout out to Casey and Powell and all the stuff he did. I want to tell that story.
Yeah.
That's what I want to bring to the internet. So I didn't do it that way by planning, but if I look at my phone right now, Fritz, and on some of my storage drives, I have 5-6 years worth of footage and pics and people that I've met and conversations that I've had, and I want to kind of formalize all of that and tell that story. That's what I want to bring to the people, man. That's what I'm interested in. So hopefully it's going to be called Life of a Diehard, even though I understand that acronym is not a good acronym to choose. So maybe I'll change it.
Yeah.
But right now, Life of a Diehard is what I have chosen. But yeah, that's the project. Man.
Okay.
That's
Did you have any place where they can follow you yet, or?
I mean, I have my YouTube page. It's Casual Corner Sports because I haven't formalized it all yet, but it's Casual Corner Sports. On Twitter, of course, I'm Knickanator. On TikTok, I'm Knickanator. On Instagram, I'm Knickanator. I don't use Reddit. I haven't figured out how to figure it out, but on there, I'm Knickanator too. So 9 times out of 10, you can find me just by Googling Knickanator, and you'll see me in Utah. You'll see me in Atlanta. You'll see me in Indiana getting chased by some people at a bar who were threatening me. I can't wait to post that video, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I had a good time, man. So that's what I want to bring to the people, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a culture. Like I originally started like behind the scenes. What was it with JLS, Nick of Time show, also Nick Fan TV at the time. Yeah, but I was never in front of the camera, so I was like behind the camera, and JLS was like, "Hey, you could be on camera. You could do it." Once we started getting remote, and I'm like, not ready. Not ready. So I was like, I was like, when I could actually like add to the conversation.
I mean, that's your page on the screen behind me, man. That's kudos to you, man.
Yeah. So I'm like, and when I can add to the conversation, I'll get on camera. So that we're here, and it's like, okay, let me learn the cap and what's going on. So okay, this is my thing.
Yeah.
Unlike the other. So. But yeah, it's always great seeing you on Twitter. Always nice having like level-headed fans.
I try to remain cool. The atmosphere gets crazy, but I try to remain cool.
Yeah, because we have some people who like there's people who like them, but like they're insufferable, man.
I know this is tough, and I tell you, I've hung out at the bar. And I've had people approach me about things that I've said on the internet, and I'm always available. I'm not, you want to find me. I'm not hard to find. You could always find me. I'm everywhere. So if you ever have an issue with anything, we could always talk about it. But it's just funny how I went to a bar and I met this guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but when he sees this, if he sees it, he knows exactly who he is. But he has a channel. And he comes up to me, and this is the first time I'm meeting him. So, and he's a Mets fan. So, my instinct is I'm a Yankee fan. I want to get at him with the Mets stuff, and I'm not even thinking about Knicks or Knicks Twitter or anything. And the minute I come up to him, I'm like, "Hey, man, and he's like, "Hey, man, people really hate you." I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, people really hate you, man, because you're always saying this and you're always saying that." I'm like, "Really? I never got that from anyone. Always people are, people feel like your opinions and this and that. If they have an opinion and you don't agree with them, then they don't like you." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm not on here to agree with everyone, right? Like, I'm gonna have my own voice. I'm gonna have my own opinion. You're gonna have your own opinion, and that's what it is." But it's just funny to actually walk into space and somebody say that to you. So it does get cliquish. It does get what I was leading up to, Wendy Williams' Twitter, where if you don't if you don't fall in line with their opinion, that they don't like you. But
Yeah.
it's fine. That can exist. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm always everywhere. So if you ever want to talk about it, we can talk about it.
Yeah. I like to question people. Like, somebody has a take, and I don't understand it. Like, not that I don't like your take. I'd be like, oh, explain it to me. Like, I'll be like, okay, what about this? If you explain it, I'll be like, okay, good job.
Yeah, well, but the shout out to you though, because you're always very logical. You're always level headed. You don't really deal in the salaciousness. You don't really deal, which is why when we talked about it, I was more than happy to come because I always feel like you always come with a level-headed approach to what fandom is. Right, we're going to talk about our team. We're going to be realistic about our team, and this is what we're doing. There are other folks, and shout out, everybody, do your own thing. Whatever you are, do your own thing. But there are other people that they're screaming from the mountaintops, fire Tom Thibodeau on day one, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, what are we really doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then they gain people that follow them, and all right, you guys go play in the mud. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're going to be over here. So
yeah, even for me, like, I had my personal views, and I'm like, I say I'm all for improvement. I say, hey, I have this certain feeling, but if this summer they say, hey, we're gonna do this and everything is all fixed, I'm cool. I say, hey, just fix the problem. If you can fix the problem, we good.
look at your foresight, though. You say you were checking out coaches around January. So you read the tea leaves and you saw what was playing out on the court.
Yeah.
You had an instinct. So
yeah, I'm just my yeah, because I think I think how people approach business, I kind of like apply it to like kind of business sometimes, and sometimes I think some people try to get very emotional about basketball, and
yeah,
it's like they disagree with Tom Thibodeau, so they hate Tom Thibodeau. I'm like,
right,
okay, I said I don't like what I see, but I don't hate Tom Thibodeau.
right, exactly.
Um,
I'm at with it.
and at the same time, like, they say I'm kind of cold hearted because when I look at like what happened this year, I'm like, no, we can't spin this back up again. We can't if I can't go into the summer and Tom Thibodeau does the same thing again.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, but obviously you were right.
So, and I think that would have been I said the logical thing is, hey, something has to change. And I said one of the two things that could change is he's an experienced coach, and you can go up to the experienced coach and say, we're gonna force you to do something. And I said that's disrespectful. And I don't think they're gonna be that disrespectful. I think they'll let him go
Right.
before telling him I'm gonna hold your hand and tell you what to do. I think that's kind of disrespectful. I
mean,
yeah.
Tom's what, 65, 66 years old?
Yeah.
You ain't about to do that to Tom.
Yeah. So I'm like, letting him go, I think, is probably better than telling him I'm gonna hold your hand and
Right.
I'm gonna hold and then I'm gonna force you to do something.
I never saw it coming though. I got to be honest, man. I never saw that coming, man. I didn't think they were going to separate, but I didn't see the Julius Randle trade coming either.
I saw that. I saw that, and people and Nick Time show, they like, I don't they didn't agree. And I'm
I
like,
lost $100 in a bet to Mo, so sure that it wouldn't happen. And literally after I bet him, maybe 24 to $40 later, they trade him. And I'm like, what is going on? Are you kidding me?
yeah.
I
So
didn't see it.
my reasoning around Julius Randle is he won an extension.
Right.
He absolutely deserves, like, if money was no object, I think Knicks would have gave it to him. I don't think they disliked him,
Right.
but I think they were like, okay, if I think they didn't want to. I think they didn't want to go into the second apron, and they were like, basically, take a second cut. He took a cut the first time. I think it was kind of them saying, "Hey, we're gonna send you to a place where you can go get your money, and we can stay in the second apron, but we can't give you what you need."
Yeah, I think Isaiah Hartenstein, what happened with Isaiah Hartenstein really is what forced their hand to trade Julius. Otherwise, I think they would have hung on to Julius. But once Isaiah walked out the door and you have the inconsistency that you do with Mitch's health history, they needed to make a move because Julius was never going to play the five consistently. Let's be honest, he wasn't going to play the. He's a power forward that plays like a wing,
Yeah,
so he
and
wasn't going to play the
and
five.
Tibbs was gonna let him do it either.
Yeah, so it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I think there were several. I think there were several issues there, and it was almost it was easier to trade him than to put their financial future in Julius' hands and trust him. Like, if he didn't take an extension, I said he's getting traded. If he doesn't take it, like, he's getting traded. They can't let him have that power.
Yeah,
And because once he has that power, he's gonna use
so yeah,
it.
only going to get worse.
Yeah. So I was like, if he has that power, no way they're gonna sit around all summer and be like, is he gonna use it or not use it? And I think they's like, nah, we can't give him that power. Like, we have to move on. So, but it's cool. It's a business. It's not just, it's not just friends playing ball. It's like it's real business.
And it ain't done. This summer's going to be interesting. You can already see it.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely look into what's going on this summer. Should be exciting times.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Yeah. So yeah, we got the draft in 3 weeks, and there should be like some fireworks before the draft. And
I think KD gets moved before the draft.
yeah, they said they definitely said like he would be moved at the latest this draft night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we will see. Yeah, so we're gonna keep tuning in, Knickanator, to see how you respond to the move to the moves happening. And thank you for joining the channel.
Yeah, man.
You're my first guest. Sorry about the technical
Really?
difficulties. I'm like,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah.
I No, I mean, listen, I'm happy to jump on with you whenever, man. I always appreciate you what you bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
You're always level headed. You're always thoughtful, insightful, and you always kind of lay it out for the layman to understand. Because some of the contract stuff for me, I ain't gonna lie, you get lost in the aprons and everything else. But whether it's Bobby Marks, all right, that's a high level. I could come have a regular conversation with you. I'll tune into NBA economy. I know Fritz gonna break it down for me.
Yeah.
So I'll check you out there, man.
All right. Thank you. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So again, follow Knickanator on Twitter. Follow me. Fritz handles on Twitter. Of course, NBA Economy Show. Thank everybody for tuning in, and have a good night.